Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Dagger community call. We love seeing everyone joining from all around the world. So while we're giving our intro and kind of going through some logistics, if you want to say hi on the chats and let us know where you're watching from, that would be awesome. It's always very cool to see how so many people are joining in. And then if it is your first community call, we're just going to go through a few things to make you feel right at home. So we watch the chat on YouTube. It comes to us directly. So we'll watch that. We'll highlight comments as they're coming in. So go ahead and add your comments or questions while people are demoing, and we'll make sure to answer them as we see them. But if you can't chat on YouTube for whatever reason, or you're already in our Discord, we are watching the Discord general channel too. So go in there and leave comments or questions throughout the call too, and we will answer those and review those. And if you aren't already in our Discord, make sure to join. It's the best place to go for any questions around Dagger and getting started. We have so many people in there and so many of our commanders who actively are answering questions and also can help you with your specific use case if you're just getting started. And if you want to demo on this community call, we always love to have additional speakers. So feel free to DM me on Discord and I can get you on the agenda. So let me remove this and let's say hi to who we have today. I have a few people. So we have me and Jeremy from the Dagger team hosting today. Jeremy runs all of the ecosystem, so all of our partnerships, and then also all of our kind of like DevRel, all those agent use cases that all of you have been seeing, and all the social. His team does all of those. So if you have any questions on how to use Dagger, his team is the place to go. Also Discord, best place to talk with them. And I run all the community stuff. So if you need anything or want to highlight some of your use cases, I'll be the person to go to. And we also have Matthias here from the Dagger team also, who is working on an amazing agents use case that's both hilarious and very exciting on the tech side. I'm so excited to see that today. And then we have Sebastian from the Run Me side, who's going to be showing a little bit of using notebooks, but also with Dagger Shell, which is very exciting because, Gary, what are we launching next week? What are we going to be talking about next week for Dagger Shell?
I don't know. There might be a little more buzz next week about Dagger Shell, so definitely watch out for that. If you haven't tried Dagger Shell, you definitely should. It's as easy as just running Dagger, so check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have Sebastian kind of tease some of that. So he's been one of our first users of that and giving us lots of feedback. So happy to have you, Sebastian. Yeah, it's been great.
Guinea pig to the future. Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. So Sebastian, maybe we can have you go first if we share your screen with the right one.
Let me see. Let me know if you can see it because I can't see you guys.
Let me see. Add the stage. Perfect. There we go. Good to go.
Yeah, it looks
cool. Good. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Sebastian. I think this is my second time presenting, and I want to show you Run Me notebooks, and specifically Run Me notebooks now with Dagger Shell support natively built in. But before we do that, let me just kind of like introduce you or reintroduce you to Run Me notebooks. So the way I am running them right now is I actually switched over to Cursor, but Cursor is what I call a VS clone or a VS Code clone. So the way Run Me is built, it runs basically on the VS Code platform. So if you use Cursor, Windsurf, Codespaces, any of those, they all work the same because they're all extension compatible, and that's what Run Me on the notebook side is. So so instead of having slides, I just use notebooks, and I figured it's a good way to introduce myself. So again, my name is Sebastian. I think on the agenda it's at my my maiden name,
Yes,
which is
sorry, I meant to ping you about that yesterday, and
that's okay.
But okay. Yes, noted now.
The Social Security Administration sent me a new Social Security card as of a month ago, so we're still in the transition phase.
Perfect.
But I couldn't deny the last name because of this iconic movie called Tombstone. If you haven't seen it, it's very cool. And there's the iconic line, "I'm your Huckleberry," and I can say that now.
Yes.
Truthfully and legally too. If you don't know what that is, it's a great movie from 1993. It's probably my favorite Western now. I mean, how can it not be my favorite Western now that it has my name in it?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And this also kind of showcases really quick what you can do with a notebook, right? I mean, I'm just running curl here, and instead of getting like a blob of binary, I actually get the image, and it's really big because I zoomed in, but you guys get the point. I think that I can also do, and this is like less satisfying, is like I can actually look at the binary gibberish, which sometimes screws up your terminal, so you shouldn't really do that. But this is kind of like what would happen if you ran it and you authorized curl to garble your terminal. But in the notebook, you get a nice representation of it. So yeah, quickly, what's run me? Open source, Apache 2 licensed. As of also a month ago, so my name change and this admission to the CNCF occurred at the same time. It got admitted to the sandbox stage at the CNCF, which is really cool. Okay. And we're working to obviously make our way through, a fully, I think, graduated project down the road. Just to kind of show you a little bit more functionality of the notebooks, is like you can run arbitrary code. In this case, this is JavaScript. And again, it renders a really, really big sort of cubicle logo of RunMe. But what RunMe can also do is like it makes documentation interactive. And because this is too large, I kind of, when you like squint a little bit, you can see it. I put a little ratio in here. And what RunMe lets you do is like it lets you write interactive documentation where you can also have prompts. Environment variables aren't always prompting. I think for whatever reason, the screen sharing interferes with my cursor, interestingly. That's weird. Oh. But, yeah, that's definitely the screen sharing. Anyway, so the way this usually works, and we're gonna have to skip over it, unfortunately, but I could rerun it and then resize it, right? So when I ran this, it would be smaller, but we're gonna have to skip over it. Cool. So
people need to imagine. They need to imagine a little bit.
Which is always unsatisfying. I don't fully understand. I literally tested all this before I got on the call, but I have seen that screen sharing interferes with this stuff before. So yeah, imagine it. So let's get into the Dagger support, right? I think the last time I was on here, I did demo the Dagger integration, and you can probably maybe remember that. What we've done more recently, or like I think this must have been almost a year ago now, made this sort of like UI level integration where we render like a UI on top of the existing notebook that is more, that is essentially giving you contextual help so you can kind of traverse the graph, right? That exists inside of Dagger. So if you get a directory, it'll let you, kind of like get extra controls that, for example, export the directory and all that, right? But it is in a lot of ways like a UI level, addition that augments your CLI experience, right? So while this is kind of cool, like the grievance, or like grievance maybe like an overstatement, but the thing that like it's been difficult with Dagger call is like it's very verbose, right? And so I've been delighted to see when Solomon showed me the shell, right? And like since I have been using the shell, I've weirdly unlearned how to use Dagger call. I literally cannot write it anymore. Like when I try to, I always like revert back to the shell now, which is like I think my muscle memory got rewired. But nice. Essentially, what you can see up here, is the same thing down here, but now it's Dagger shell. And when you run it under the hood, it will know how to run it. And like with a single cell, that's not quite as exciting because at the end of the day, it's just a shell interpreter, right? So it's the notebook really just passes what's in the cell inside of the interpreter. But what's really cool is when you essentially have multiple artifacts that are being built as part of a pipeline, you can now decompose them in multiple cells. And this is what I'm showing here. So this is the canonical example that actually Solomon and I worked through, and I keep using to demonstrate it because it's kind of concise. So what this notebook here does, essentially, it'll let you build the extension that's currently running inside of Cursor. And the way it does that is like it needs multiple artifacts, right? Before I do that, let me quickly show you guys, because there's a new extension on here, and it's called .dag. I kind of made that up, like Dagger, DAG. And when you create a new file that essentially has the DAG extension, like test.dag, what Runme will now do is like it immediately seeds your Markdown document, because I maybe should have mentioned that. Any notebook just serializes down to Markdown at the end of the day, right? So when you use a Markdown viewer, it's essentially just plain vanilla old Markdown, and it renders nicely in GitHub or any of these hosted repository source code control systems. So when you now create a .dag file, it will immediately assume that you want to do Dagger shell, right? So you can overwrite that still, right? You can still, layer in JavaScript or Python or like any kind of code snippets, but it will, whenever there's shell, it will always assume it's Dagger shell, right? So the idea here then is fairly simple. You build an artifact. In this case, I'm building the kernel binary. So the way Runme works under the hood, there is something called a kernel that you can't really see, but it's running in the background. This enables Runme to have multiple UIs, one of which is the notebook UI. And as you can see here now, it builds this kernel, right, based on this little Dagger shell snippet, right? The interesting thing here is like you can give cells names, right? In this case, this is called kernel binary. And when it's serialized down to Markdown, let's maybe do the preview again, so it's a little bit easier to discern. We also drop a comment into the cell, because unless you're in the notebook UI, you can't really see that the cell is called kernel binary, and it might be a little confusing. But this is essentially what a non-Runme user would see if they're rendering it, or obviously if you look at the vanilla Markdown, there are some annotations here. They're not new. These IDs you can get away without, but this is how you identify a cell, right? So moving on to show you the magic. So we need two artifacts that essentially, are rolled up in this DAG to build the extension. And the last step here does exactly that. So what I just did is I grabbed this pre-setup shell script, which is really just a sort of like a script that runs on top of a container, just install a bunch of stuff, because I didn't want to maintain a separate container image. And it has a name too. It's just called pre-setup, right, which is configured here. And the cool thing now is using the Dagger shell, I can reference these artifacts in other cells, right? So the way I do this is like using shell expression syntax, and essentially just drop the names in, right? And now when I run this, under the hood, like Runme will stitch together a custom Dagger shell script that essentially is valid and will run. And as you can see now, we'll do exactly that. Hopefully it won't take very long, because I ran this ahead of time. So those two things seem to be cached, which makes sense because we just built them. And it might have to go through the whole npm, like install webpack build run, but it shouldn't take very long. The other cool thing is, since Runme and Dagger both understand environment variables, I put a GitHub token into my environment, and as of late, Runme supports what's it called, dir-env. So I don't have to put any clear text secrets in here. I'm just grabbing this from the GitHub shell, sorry, GitHub CLI, when I create my session. So in my store, I do have a secret, which I'm not going to show you. It's hidden, but it's valid. And when I'm using it in here, the DAG sort of extends out into, the notebook cells, but also into the environment. And you can also see how in the environment here, where the source of in this case, like a environment variable that we are creating when a cell executes, and all sorts of different, secrets and environment variables. You can use .env or .envrc, and it will support all of that. Let's see, this should be fairly close. This usually takes about like 2 minutes ish.
But this is huge, Sebastian. Like the ability to run essentially what you've created, these sub shells, and run them in separate cells of your notebook, preview them, play with them. Once you get them ready, just have a name and have it all just get stitched up in another cell. A super powerful way to build. I love it.
Right, and the other thing is, like, we have these integrations where, sort of for convenience, right? If you work in a repo, if they're named, there's different ways to get hold of them without having to traverse into notebooks and find them. So we can use this little launcher down here. Like you can turn off unnamed or only named cells, and like let's imagine you hop into a new repo and you're just kind of like looking for the top level, what builds my artifact, what tests it, what runs it, what deploys it. There's a really easy way to expose that and make the UX very streamlined. Even though the DAG might allow you to do all sorts of other things, you can almost kind of define the beaten path here. So yes, that's sort of the idea behind it. So yeah, the artifact builds, and let's see. I'm not exporting it. So I could obviously do the whole thing where I'm exporting it. You can obviously do anything that you can do in Dagger shell. The one thing that currently is not supported yet, that's something I'm working on, is like currently it doesn't use a persistent shell session. So there's a little bit of a performance not the right word here, a little penalty, because it essentially can only use the cache if we have a long running shell session similar to what you would do with Dagger shell, right? This would probably be almost instantaneous, right? And that's something that we want to get to. That's sort of on the roadmap.
I love it. Well, yeah, and speaking of features, I don't know if you saw Solomon's question flash by. Have you explored prototyping Dagger AI agents with this as well?
I've done that actually yesterday, and I've been like kind of like toying around whether I should present something, but then I kind of like ran a little short on time. But I do want to kind of like because there's a lot of interactivity in there, right? So like I kind of want to like bring those two things together for sure. But limited experience of the last 12 hours, I would say.
And another question is the Dagger run me, would it wrap in a common Dagger session?
Well, yeah, so that was kind of what I just tried to explain. Is like it doesn't do that yet, but it's something I want to get to. So that first of all, you get the performance benefit of not just using the cache, but actually a persistent session, and to bring the UI integration back. So currently, the cells are being executed like atomically, and that also means it spins up a dedicated Dagger shell process. One thing that, like, let's see, this should work. Yes. That you can also do is you can actually take a look at the raw script that's being run. So in the notebook UI, there's this concept of different renderers. And like this is essentially a terminal, right? But I can also look at the underlying script that runs based on traversing the, not traversing the graph, but grabbing all of the cells, and it's being rendered into a shell script. And this is actually what's being run, right? And as you can see here, these have names. If they were unnamed, they would just have an ID, right? That is like, private, it's not really important, but it will work anyways. And you can kind of see how, it stitches that back together. And this is just shell, right? And that's really what's going on under the hood. One other interesting thing to note is like, this will also work on the CLI. So you can essentially use not just the notebook UI, but once the notebook is an artifact and it's just in your repo, and you don't want to like every time you want to, I'm just using this project here to like thin out because it's like inside of a larger repo, to just use the context directory. But what it lets you essentially do is, if you're a power user and you're like, hey, I just want to build my extension, or let's say my kernel binary, right? You can just run something like this, right? And we'll do the exact same thing. So it's sort of running the notebook headlessly, right? But it does the exact same thing, has the exact same execution path. It will reuse your session, your RunMe session, which means it will also inherit your environment variables, right? Nice. So there's also a way here to use all of this without using the notebook. And technically, you could just run this in your CI if you wanted to, right? And yeah, that's kind of like all of it. I can't really see any questions, but I'm happy to answer more.
No, I was looking at it. We got the questions that came through, which is awesome. I also want to just say thank you so much for always staying up to date with all of our Dagger stuff. Like it's awesome to know when people are trying out RunMe and they're trying out all these different combinations with Dagger with your tooling. It's usually the most up to date, with what Dagger can do. So
yeah, it sounds like.
Well, thanks to you guys.
Oh yeah, well, hey, anytime, and it sounds like there's a lot of great stuff ahead with both with the CNCF, and as well, we'll have to probably have you back, Sebastian, because since you're working on more features to make this even better, I can see a future episode.
Yeah, I'm definitely always down to come back, and thanks for building this. I mean, this is a little bit of a dream come true for me, and I think. Solomon kind of got me off the Dagger call train, which, I also appreciate. And he gave me an early preview because what I always really wanted was being able to use multiple cells and kind of decompose, my pipeline so I can build the kernel separately, all these artifacts, because everyone knows how that usually goes with pipelines. They run for even if they just run for 5 minutes and they fail 4.5 minutes in, right? And then I kind of don't want to go back and type it all out. I just want to be able to say, hey, give me all these partial artifacts. And then, I can kind of it's much easier to debug. It's much easier to reason about. So being able to pass it into this expression syntax here is a dream come true for me. So thanks, to you guys. And I'm happy there's a way to bring these things together. And I'm definitely looking forward to play around with the agents and the LLM stuff. So,
well, and you're, as Solomon says here, you're probably already ready to go. You're just kind of waiting on us now. We're going to be, we're going to be seeing the LLM type in the main line of Dagger very, very soon. Of course, people are experimenting now, but it should probably just work. And I think marrying together this kind of familiar notebook format, but with these powerful features that you guys have with RunMe, I think it's going to be a huge for all kinds of folks who are both new to the notebook world and also who are old hands at notebooks coming from the AI and ML side. So very excited to see how that goes.
Cool. Yeah, no, I will report back.
Awesome. And like we were saying early in the call too, if you aren't already following us on all of the socials, and if you aren't in our Discord, jump in if you're watching this right now, because we have some stuff dropping next week to talk about Dagger Shell more. So if you haven't tried already and you are getting started today and trying out Dagger Shell and you have feedback, please let us know in Discord or GitHub issues, because we're working on the final touches right now. So I would love any and all feedback. And Sebastian, if they want to go try this out, what's the best next steps for them to do?
I mean, honestly, really easy, runme.dev, install it. You can either install the binary first or the extension, or vice versa. And then, the easiest way, honestly, is just go in here, new file, put the .dak at the end, and then, you're off to the races, right? You can just do git. I actually kind of prepped another thing here, but I kind of got sidetracked, but I can do this real quick. You can just get started, right? There's
awesome.
You could do .help, right? And then just run it.
We're big fans of just one more demo.
No, I don't want to use up more time, but I could go on forever.
Yeah, no, this is great, Sebastian, and I'll put the link for RunMe in the chat as well. And then if
and I'm also on the Dagger Discord, so if you want to try it, you run into problems. I've noticed that we're not really good at forcing you to use Bash compatible cell names. There's a couple of little nitty final polish, but let me know. I'm on the Dagger Discord. Sourish Crowd is my handle. Feel free to ping me.
Awesome. Thank you. And then, yeah, we'll put this as a demo snippet on Discord too, and I'll add you there. So if people have any direct questions, definitely add it in the demo forum too. Awesome. Thank you. Matthias, let's share your screen and get into a little bit of roasting.
Okay.
So maybe before we get into this, maybe Jeremy, you could tell people a little bit about what we're all doing on the Dagger side with the agents, and kind of just give people some context if they haven't been following us, like Sebastian, every feature. So maybe just giving them an update there.
Yeah, absolutely. So if folks haven't noticed yet, if you've been just diligently Daggerizing your CI pipelines, automating CI/CD, etc., there's this whole new way to use Dagger, and it's super, super fun, very, very powerful, and it's all about attaching an LLM to your Dagger pipeline to give it some new capabilities. So we're all writing agents. You can find us in Discord. There's a Containerize Your Agents channel. We're running around in there. There's a lot of amazing videos that you may have seen on social, like X or LinkedIn or YouTube. So definitely check those out. Essentially, when we merge in this LLM branch, everyone's going to be invited. You're all invited to the party, but everyone's going to be in the party at that point. But if you want to get early access, you can go into the VIP line, which is just over in the docs. There's an AI agents section that parallels the CI section, and there you can get started. You can go grab a dev CLI, an engine, and you'll be using LLM in no time. Just essentially all you need is connect it to your favorite local or cloud API LLM, and you can start doing some pretty cool stuff. And I'm guessing, Matthias, you might actually be showing some of that flow, or are you going to be, it's going to be under the covers, or how's that going to go?
No, we're going to show a little bit under the hood. Yeah.
Okay, then I don't need to talk too long. Just gives you some context that there's a new superpower in Dagger. If you haven't seen it yet, you're going to see it now with Matthias.
Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully this agent doesn't roast all of us during it. We'll see.
Actually, a surprising discovery I made is that AI models are just too nice. Like you need to, like the prompt that you need to write in order for the LLM to actually roast you is just so mean, and you still get like some encouragement. So yeah, it's not yet refined for some proper roasting, but we'll get there eventually. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, yeah, let's go for it. Let's see what you built.
Nice. Okay, so a little bit of context before. In December 2025, there is a trail race happening in the south of Argentina, in the Patagonian region. It's called El Cruce. It's a 100-kilometer race over really technical, rough terrain. You go over mountain ridges, you cross rivers, streams, and you do all of it on 3 days while sleeping on a tent. So it's a challenging race. You can definitely have fun with it, but you need to train. If you arrive at that race and you haven't put in the miles, then you're not gonna have that much fun. We're running the race with a few friends, and I want to make sure that not just me, but they train as well, because we're running the race as a team. So we all need to get to the finish line at the same time for it to actually count. We're not going to win. We're not going to compete, but we want to have fun, right? So we better actually get to training. The way that we're going to track and share our training with each other is via Strava, which is like a social media website where you can share the trainings that you do. The main reason why we use this is because each of us is on a completely different city, 1,500 kilometers apart. So, it's how we can stay connected. And what I thought I could do is actually use Dagger to, spice things up a little bit and get a little bit competitive between us. We are actually very competitive in a, I don't know if a healthy way, but in a way. And we like to see, or at least it's motivating for me to see one of my friends actually logged a really interesting workout that I decided to skip that morning because it was just too cold, it was snowing, or whatever that may be. So maybe with this AI agent, we can actually, we can generate some competition that keeps you accountable in your training. So how do we do that? How do we actually get started? Well, the first step is to do what Jeremy said, which is go to the Dagger website. Let's go right there right now. Go for Dagger for AI agents right here. And you can get started locally. Like basically it just shows you what you can do. There are some examples that you can use. So I'm not going to go over that. We're just going to go directly into how we actually this particular agent.
And
Now,
if you make it a little bit bigger for the font.
Oh yeah,
or as big as you're comfortable with for both.
Yeah. Is this one okay, or do you want a little bit more?
Let's get a little bit bigger
Okay,
too.
nice.
Thank
Let's do that. There we go. Okay, so not going to go over the entire process, but I installed Dagger, I created a module, and I created a function that's called roast group. The function receives the credentials that it needs, and it receives an activity. And the purpose of this AI agent is to see the activity that I just posted on Strava, actually look at what's happening in our little group, so look at what my friends are actually doing, and then post a message on a Discord channel that we have, where it basically just tries, because it's failing a little bit, but it just tries to roast us. It doesn't matter how good the workout was, or like whether you had fun with it or not. It's just going to find a way to mess with you. If you only burned 500 calories and that's only 2 slices of pizza, then it's going to let you know, hey, better not eat more than 2 slices. It just tries to have fun with it. And then it should also surface like how you are doing compared to my friends. So if I'm lagging behind on distance, it's going to let me know in the least pleasant way possible. At least that's the idea. And that's where, Dagger is great, but it's not going to help me write a good prompt. And I've been, you're going to see that it's quite, if I open it up here, it's relatively long. And I'm using words like, you must just mess with me. You must not be nice. And it's still being nice. So yeah, let's see.
So we need a prompt engineer who's using
that. For sure. So what are we doing here? Yeah, let's go over like from the beginning. The first thing is we're using the LLM type. That's something that's going to be released very, very soon. And I'm using O3 Mini. I tried other models. It was a disaster. This one was the least disastrous. We are adding what we're calling a workspace. A workspace is essentially just a module that contains a list of functions, and those functions are going to be automatically available to the LLM. So if I open up the athlete workspace, which is really cool to think of like an athlete workspace, you can see that we have functions like notify Discord, get activity, get club activities, and list athlete activities. The really interesting part about this is that here I'm actually importing 2 separate modules. I'm importing the Strava module that I created, and I'm importing the Notify module that Gerhard created. Notify allows you to send messages on Discord. I just import them, I group them here, and there will be a better way of doing is, actually, maybe it's already released. I've been lagging a little bit behind on some of this stuff. I don't do as good a job as Sebastian, even though I work at Dagger. But essentially, this is going to be the list of functions that the LLM is going to have available when this particular session starts. So by me doing with Athlete Workspace and then specifying that, the LLM will now have access to those 4 functions and will be able to use them to, serve the purpose, the very important purpose that it has.
And to be clear, Matthias, for everybody who's watching this, there's nothing special about the word workspace here. We've been using it a lot internally, but in essence, this athlete workspace is just a regular Dagger module. And the magic is, as you said, when we attach it to the LLM with this special with whatever, then all of those functions become available to the LLM as tools. So if you're getting into LLMs and tool calling and agents, this is the easy button. Very cool.
Yeah, and the way, actually, that's a good clarification. The way that you do that is if you have the module installed. So if you actually install the Athlete Workspace, then you're going to automatically have a with Athlete Workspace or with Strava or what have you. And yeah, the LLM will be able to just use it for its very relevant purpose. So let's do the first demo and let's see if it actually works. I have my Dagger call here set up. This is going to basically use one of the activities that I uploaded, I think, last week or on the weekend. And it should actually send the message So I'm going to open up Dagger Cloud right next to me. This should start. Let's see if it works.
We see another. We saw
Oh
a
yeah,
tiny
we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get to that one. Let's zoom in a little bit. Maybe that
Yes.
helps.
I'm roasting you to zoom in.
Yeah. So let's see if this actually did everything that it should have done. Let's show the spans. Come on. Okay, so either show me all the spans. Okay, so it doesn't seem to have called the module, which is interesting. And this is a fun thing about LLMs. They're not, idempotent. You're going to get the same result every time. But it did send a message. So let's actually go to the message, and I can guarantee you that it's just making stuff up. I can see that's Alice, that's Bob, and Charlie. I don't know what all of that is. So what we should have seen is, let me go here. Let's see if we can actually pull up a different roast.
For people who may be watching this and haven't seen what you're showing on the left side, like maybe.
We'll go over it. The idea was to go over it with everything that actually worked, but it didn't. So let's go over it now with the previous trace. So this one was a trace where the LLM actually did what it was supposed to do. And I'm not sure why in this particular occasion. I mean, I know why. I was doing a demo. So if it was, of course, going to So here in Dagger Cloud, we can see the trace that's actually happening. Being ingested from the CLI. In this trace, I can see at the very top level that it's calling my roast group module, right? And it's showing with this beautiful human icon, what is the message that I'm actually sending? What is the task that I'm sending to the LLM? You can see here that there's an identifier that was automatically replaced by Dagger by me doing the with prompt var activity and then setting the actual activity. We can see here that the LLM started thinking and actually called the get activity function of the workspace that we defined previously. After that, it did a little bit more thinking, and then it got the club activities, which it's used to see what my friends are actually doing. And then after all of that, it sent the message on Discord, and then actually we received it on this particular thread, which, I try to hide them, but you can see them here, that a lot of stuff has been happening. I don't know why it did that, but we're going to do a second demo because once I did this, my main concern was, how can I get this to like something that runs all the time? I don't want to have to do a Dagger call every time that there's a new, every time that I see my friend actually posting an activity or every time I post an activity. So what we did is, let me see if I can open it up here. We developed a server. We're going to find better ways of doing this. So this is not the state of the art or anything. This is just what I came up with. In this particular server, we're going to receive webhooks from Strava, and we're going to see basically receive the activity that a user posted. We're going to receive the activity ID, and based on that, we're actually going to do some work. So you can see here that what I'm doing is receiving the agent module, which is just a link to my module that where we're doing like the roasty. We're initializing it using the Dagger API. So we create a client, we initialize it using the API. We set some credentials based on what we have on the environment. We have an endpoint, which is called Strava. In this endpoint, we just parse the activity ID. And then we make a GraphQL query using the Engine API, where we just query roast group. And we say, hey, roast the group with this particular activity ID. And then everything should automatically happen. Now, because Dagger has both AI and CI use cases, I, of course, deployed this particular application with Dagger as well. So what do? We created a module for this, the CI of this application. And in this module, what we're doing is created a container that has both my server and the Dagger engine inside. So it's one container, which is both binaries that are going to be running side by side. We connect them together using the traditional buildkit.d.sock, like one of the many ways that you have of connecting to a host. And we deploy all of that to Fly. So we have in Fly an application running right here that's going to be receiving the request from Strava, doing everything with the LLM, and then actually posting, if it works, posting the message. So let's see if this particular demo works. Let me open up Strava again. Let's go to my training. Nothing very private here. Sorry. So I'm going to...
You got a cheering section over there.
Yeah.
And a quick question, as you pull this up, Matthias, a quick question. So, I mean, really cool. So you were actually calling Dagger via the API, via an API query in that case.
Yeah, exactly.
Which some folks maybe haven't seen before. Very cool to know because, ultimately Dagger, is an API. It's all API driven. And maybe you've seen it done through the shell or the CLI, like we saw in Sebastian's demo before, or maybe you've seen it done mostly through code in SDKs like Go, Python, TypeScript, Java, PHP, on and on. But also, ultimately under the hood, there is this GraphQL unifying API, which is why you can mix and match all the different languages and all these modalities. So cool to see that actually, in your demo. Also, one other question we had, Matthias, was
go ahead.
Have you tried with like GPT-4o versus say O3 Mini or?
Yeah, I tried with O1 as the beefiest model, and it just for some reason stays in a loop, like it never exits. And I added things to the prompt where I'm telling it, hey, do it once and then stop. I clearly need to work on my prompt engineering skills, but yeah, like O3 Mini was the, of all the models I tested, even Anthropic ones, was like the most stable one, I would say. And even then, like, I don't know why in the demo didn't work. But yeah, like I get varied results with the different models. I think that's something that can definitely will be improved over time as new models are released, and can definitely be improved with my own prompting. There's also this idea that maybe there's a way that you can constrain your model to more like narrow tasks. So maybe I could go fetch the activity and then the model doesn't have to figure that part out since it's very simple. But yeah, the nice thing about this is that I already had modules created. I just imported them and then everything worked most times out of the box, right?
Nice.
Right. No, exciting. Yeah. And as was noted in the comment that popped up, you also need, if you're going to use this LLM and the with feature that you're using, you need to have a model that supports tool calling and does it well. And and so it sounds like O1 doesn't support that, but O3 Mini does. So
I mean, it did work because it was doing the thing, but it was just always doing it, like, and sending just new messages and new So I don't know what was happening. Okay, so to finish the demo, we have the application running here. You can see here that we have tracing built in. Since I have a Dagger Cloud token, when the server starts, we like the observability that Dagger Cloud gives you automatically creates a trace, and in this trace, we're going to be able to see every request that is going to be happening. So here we can see that the module was loaded initially, and for now, nothing else. And if everything works correctly, when I send this particular request, the application is going to start doing stuff. We're going to see here that we receive like the actual call via the API. We send the thing. We tell like what it needs to do. Then it thinks some time. It gets the activity. This time it actually did get the activity. So yay OpenAI. It thinks a little bit more. It gets the activities of the club to see how I'm comparing to my other friends. It's going to think a little bit more. And if everything works, it should send a message on Discord. So please send the message on Discord. I need one demo that works. Like last community call was a disaster as well. So let's hope this one.
Oh, this is cool. Yeah.
There we go.
And you're calling, and there it is. It's calling. These are, for folks that are watching, this is, go ahead. Pick it up. The action is continuing.
Yeah, there we go. Like that. Now we have a proper message that's a little bit long, so I'll leave it there in case someone wants to pause the video and actually read it. If you do read it, you're gonna see that it does roast you, but I would be a little bit meaner. Like if I want to motivate someone that has some dry humor, I would lean more on the mean side than this. But we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Just the robots want to be thankfully they want to be nice to us.
For now.
And yeah, and that's it. That was the end of the demo. Please don't send too much stuff here because I have to pay for that. But I'm gonna take it down now. So yeah, be nice.
You kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, but one of the things I think that can be intimidating with all of these, different AI use cases is there's just so many tools that you can use, and there's so many different models you can try. But you were saying it earlier, but you built the modules, and now you can kind of just plug and play, which is so nice. And even myself yesterday, I was talking to someone about I was using OpenAI, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, no, you have to use Claude for this instead." And so the fact of having these Dagger modules, and you kind of just plug it into where you need it and test things out, it makes it less intimidating to try all this different stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
What works best,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like traditionally I would have had to figure out how to send a message on Discord, but I went to my process was I went to Daggerverse, right? I went right here, I looked for Discord, and then Notify showed up. I saw what the API is. I saw there's a Discord function. Then I just add that to the workspace, and that's it. The model can now actually send message, like you can see here. It can send messages to Discord, so that's super nice. Being able to tap into an existing ecosystem, I think it's like the biggest upside that this LLM integration has.
Yeah, because I was actually when you're showing it, I was looking at Daggerverse for your module, and then so the athlete's workspace came up there. So if people want to try that out, or they see like, okay, I wanted these modules all together, like they can just go there. So I'll throw that link in the Discord in the chat too, so everyone can check it out more.
Nice.
Yeah, this is really cool. It's a really fun use case to show off what it can do with a really fun outcome. So.
And it's been working. This morning was particularly difficult to get out of bed, but I was kind of curious to see what the AI was going to think about my very easy stroll. So doing its thing. Yeah.
So this is you, Matthias, like in bed in the morning, just kind of looking at the Discord messages. I guess I gotta get up. I gotta put in the miles.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't want to be roasted by AI first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Hey, Matthias, as like a capper, like for folks that got here late or really want to are interested, on the right side, could you bring up your workspace code again?
Yeah.
And just so you can so people can see the mapping on the left between the calls from the LLM.
Let's do the athlete workspace, you mean?
Yeah, athlete workspace.
Right here. So we have notify Discord, which is what it did right at the end. And then we have get activity and get club activities, which is what it did. Oh, in this case, it just got the activity, not the club activity. That's strange. Anyway, I need to work on my prompting. But I know there's ways of making this almost consistent every time. But yeah, it just,
Very cool.
I was looking at the chats of that. We might have created a monster here. Solomon was saying, can we adapt Roasty to roast Dagger developers about their pull requests? So we're about to...
I mean, the AI is always going to be nice, so we can do that. It's just, I don't think we're going to hurt people's feelings. We can definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually doesn't work. It's not actually hurting our feelings.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to lift you up. Yeah.
Great. Well, this is really cool seeing it. It's a great showcase of all the different things that the team has been working so hard on of showcasing. And if people are looking at these examples and you want to build your own AI agents, we put it in the chat, but that new kind of quick start on the Dagger docs is the best place to go. It's getting updated almost daily at this point with updates or improvements in there. So if you have any questions on that or questions about getting started, Discord's going to be your place to go because our team's in there all the time. Matthias is in there, so if you want to copy his and you have questions on that, please go ask us over there. Anything else to wrap up with, Jeremy?
Hey, I would just no, thanks, Matthias. This is awesome. And actually, can you go to the docs page for AI agents? Because that's actually the place we want to direct people to now. So you just go to the docs, and then on the left side, you can this one right here. And this is the place to go. And as you scroll down, you'll see that there are a lot of us are cranking out examples. So if you have a cool example, let us know about it in Discord. We'd love to check it out as well. And it's really, really easy to get started pretty much with any model you might have. And there's examples here for both using some of the big models as well as local models you might have. So, and you saw Matthias earlier, there was a suggestion to get you connected up with maybe a local model so you could experiment. And maybe there's a model out there that's meaner than the rest.
Yeah, I don't want any guardrails. I just want,
You want the unfiltered, meanest model we can find.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna love that blog post that has that new benchmarks of who's the meaner model. Looking forward to reading that one. Okay, well, this is great. Thank you so much, Sebastian and Matthias, for joining us today and showing off some of this. Really excited for people to get started with it, and we love hearing about everyone's stories. So if you want to come on the call and showcase what you've been doing too, just reach out to me on Discord, and we'll get you on the agenda. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today, and have an amazing day.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.